Hi, I'm Gabe Rispoli Jr., and this is episode 1 of Wise Thoughts from a Wise Man, my dad, Gabe Rispoli Sr. Episode 1 is going to be on COVID-19. I'm here in Dade County, Florida, right now the epicenter of planet Earth. And I think it's a good place to start. When it comes to my father's wisdom, me and my cousin Butch have worked together all our lives. We grew up working for my dad. We've had the business going for the last 14 years since my dad passed away, and until we got shut down by COVID-19. And he's as influenced by a lot of the things my dad said as me. And even though we're both polar opposites when it comes to politics, we still looked at this the same way, because neither one of us have ever looked to a politician for health issues. We both deal with doctors with our health issues, and with the opposite political views, we just sit back and laugh about it. We don't, that's never interfered with anything, and I guarantee every Butch is 66. I just turned 64. Every older male in my family, on both sides of the aisle, along with a couple like my brother and my cousin in Vegas, they think like Butch, old school, conservative, and all the younger people in the family more than likely think more like me, which is I'm very proud of, because if you can't tune into the youth of the nation who are going to be running the country in a few decades, you're not helping anything by just hating them. My generation, the baby boomers, come on, man, late 60s, early 70s, when I grew up, the greatest generation was running the country back then. They thought we were out of our minds. In 1969, when the news footage on the major networks started showing clips of the Woodstock Music Festival, and they seen all the young people naked bathing together in the lake, and people blacked out, fuzzy, but you could see that they were naked, having sex on blankets in front of everybody. They thought it was the end of the world. They thought we all belonged in concentration camps. They thought we were more than out of our minds. I don't know how little my generation now that's running the country forgets that. And with the idealistic views of all the changes we wanted to make in the world, I don't know anything that we've done that ties into the vibe of the late 60s, except for starting the legalization of marijuana. Other than that, I don't see shit that we've done, And they're afraid the baby boomers are gonna, make the country socialist, communist. Nobody changes nothing fast in this country. You're lucky if you can change a couple of things. So, knowing that, having lived this long, looking at the millennials who are, in the street shouting stuff, and they're making you hate them because they think differently than you. And then when they try to describe what they're talking about, the terminology they use makes you hate them even more. Because it doesn't do anything get you down to the base of what they're really saying. And come on, man, how smart are young people? How smart and wise are they when they get out of college or get out of high school? They got a lot to learn. That doesn't mean that they're not on to something. Just hating them isn't going to make them go away. Getting back to COVID-19 and my father's wise words. We'd be working on the job. We worked down on Biscayne Boulevard for the Orange Bowl parade for 3 months, and then another 3 months for the Grand Prix, back to back. So we worked on the sidewalk of Biscayne Boulevard, downtown Miami, for 6 months every day. Everybody and their mother and father that walked down that street talked to my dad. And people coming into the country, people coming in from other states, people that came down for the winter because it was too cold up north looking to get a job. Here's my father with this big business putting up 30,000 seats on Biscayne Boulevard, stand after stand, and we're the first person they seen that they can come ask for a job, And when somebody would come up to my dad and say, hey, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that, I can do this, I can do that, my father would just walk away. That was not the way to approach him. My father wasn't a person that you could tell how great you were. You needed to show him, you know. One guy walked up to my father on the boulevard, and we were putting up high bleachers, elevated. Not too many guys could go up there by themselves and grab that big number 3 frame that's like a big triangle and pop it in without a man in the front to help. Not many guys could do that. In today's world, with OSHA and everything, you know, they wouldn't even allow you to do that. But Arnold was up there popping in the frames. They had them laid out all along the back of the bleacher for him to pop in the top row. And some guy walks over to my father and says, he didn't say nothing about how good he was. He just said, "You see that guy up there, sir?" And my father said, "Yeah." He said, "I could do that just as good as him." And my father, you know, now we have bleacher guys working for us for decades. There's not too many guys that can do that. My father says, "Oh, really?" He says, "Yes, sir." So now, you know, Arnold was young, 6'4", long arms, big guy. This guy was an average sized guy, white guy, middle-aged, carpenter, supposedly. And, you know, my father says, "Okay." So he said, "Hey, take this guy down to the other end of the stands and start handing him up the GB3s and see what he can do." So this guy jumps up there and he starts popping those frames in like Arnold. Amazing. My father was amazed. He came down, my father hired him. You know, now, this isn't about that story, but this guy had just walked up to my dad after getting back in the country, after escaping and jumping out of a 2-story window in a building in Argentina. The feds had him surrounded and he escaped, and they were chasing him since he hired 2 undercover cops to kill his wife up north. Okay? So you never know who you're gonna meet walking up to you on the boulevard, but hey, you give my father a hard day's work. You know, it didn't matter if you came to the table with baggage. He didn't ask. He just put you to work. We found all this when the feds came to my father's house, because this guy gave my father his real social security number, you know? So when the FBI knocked, you know, they told my father the whole story. So it was all legit. The story didn't end there, you know, but that's another story. Anyway, getting back to COVID-19 and my father's wisdom with, you know, somebody that just was full of themselves, you know, he'd come over to me and Butch and he said, "Let me tell you something. Self-praise ain't worth a shit. But when someone in somebody's profession talks highly about them, you listen to that, because you want to learn from the best. You don't want to learn from a backyard mechanic." He used that term, backyard mechanic, for everything. You know, a guy that's self-taught in his backyard. My father was a backyard mechanic on a lot of things. He never claimed to be good at any of them. But, you know, watching people and growing up, you know, my father could do concrete work. He could do block work. He could do tile work. He could do plumbing. He could do electrical. He built walls. He did roofing. He added on to the house. He built garages. He didn't hesitate to attempt anything. You know, he wasn't a professional at all those things, but he could do them. He did them for us. We learned from him. You know, but my father was a professional when it came to men, running a company, you know, running a racing kennel, running a race car track, running a semi-pro baseball team, Staten Island Yankees in the 40s, you know. Now, like, you know, 40 years later, there's a new stadium down there in St. George, and there's a new Staten Island Yankees team. And, you know, I guarantee you, they don't have no picture of my dad up there, the original Staten Island Yankees, the guy that was a scout for the New York Yankees, and the team that wore the New York Yankee uniforms. When they switched uniforms and bought new ones, they gave my father the old uniforms, and they wore New York Yankee pinstripes. There's no homage to my dad at that stadium. They should hear this. Anyway, using my father's logic about, you know, learning from the best and watching this thing explode on TV, and hearing every university professor and doctor and professional from the United States and around the world, whenever Dr. Anthony Fauci is mentioned, you hear the word best to the word genius. And, you know, we're already following him. We already picked up like he was the head doctor on the task force, and we want to listen to the head doctor. But I wanted to know more. I wanted to know, I didn't know who he was. I wanted to know, you know, why everybody's talking about him so highly. You know, I looked it up. I see he's the head of our division of infectious disease since 1984 for 36 years, and he's advised every president since Ronald Reagan. I read that he's considered one of the top AIDS scientists on planet Earth. I read that he was instrumental as one of the major architects that helped bring everybody together to create the antiviral combination that stopped people dying from AIDS. And I also read that out of 2.5 million to 3 million scientists and doctors that post in scientific and medical journals in 1 year, for over 20 years, Dr. Fauci's been in the top 15 doctors and scientists on the planet that the rest cite and reference in their journals to substantiate their work. So when the global community looks at you like you're one of the top 15 guys on planet Earth, like Will Smith said in Men from Black, that's the best of the best of the best you got there. That's a national treasure. That's who you listen to. And understanding this has been a fluid situation thrown at us, like a bat out of hell. And the information's been changing daily as the scientific data comes in. And when politicians get on TV and say, who's Dr. Anthony Fauci to tell me this, to tell me that, blah, 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 blah. They all know who he is. We didn't know who he is. They all know who he is. They all know he's not our number one guy. And if you don't like following the doctor and you don't like taking your medicine, then go home crying. But there's nobody better to read the scientific data and tell us what the medicine we should be taking is right now. And most likely, listening to him and the guys around him, it's wearing a face covering and social distancing to at least 2022 for the next year and a half. Or maybe till the middle of 2022, maybe for 2 years. They don't want to scare you with all of this, but that's the reality. And the next pandemic is right around the block, and this one could come back every year like the flu. And even if there's a vaccine, it doesn't last long with these coronaviruses. You'll need to take a vaccine shot every year if it keeps coming back. So, wake up, smell the coffee, man. And for all the spoiled brats in this country that think their freedom is endless, your freedom is not endless. We have the greatest freedom of speech, and we can talk against the government. And in China, they throw you in jail. We could, in Russia, before they were acknowledging that they had a problem with the virus, 3 doctors went on social media and said they were having a problem with the virus. And within like 10 or 15 days, all 3 doctors accidentally, in different locations, fell out of a high-story building to their death. What a coincidence, right? That's what happens in Russia. So kiss the ground that you were born in the United States of America, or if you became a citizen here, even kiss the ground more, because you're a lucky person, because this is the best of the best of the best. We have a lot of baggage. We've done a lot of bad things. Nobody's perfect. But when you compare us to all the other countries and everything we've done, we're a beacon of light in the night. Right now, we're dealing with something that's making us look like a third world country. We're so divided on this, it's disgusting. You look at a country like Taiwan. Taiwan is the size of 1.5 New Jerseys. New Jersey has 8 million people. Taiwan has 25 million people in a small area. You know how many deaths they had? Less than 10. You know how many infections they had? Less than 500. You know why? Because over there in Asia, they've been wearing masks for decades. They know the drill. They know how it goes. When they're told, wear your mask, the whole country puts on mask and squash it right away. And you can't tell me that there's anything that any country on this planet can do that we can't do as good or better. Hey, come on. We're the United States of America. There's no reason why we can't do what needs to be done as good or better than anybody else. And down the road, we get alerts on our telephone when a kid's kidnapped, the Amber Alert. We get severe weather alerts, especially down here on our phone. Flooding possible, you name it. But, I think down the road, I think I'll live to see virus alerts on the telephone where, we'll get the whole country or a whole state to put on masks within hours. We're good enough to do that. Right now we're acting like cavemen. And the only place that's managed to do what the Europeans and the Australians and everybody else has done is New York City. My hat's off to New Yorkers, man. I'm a New Yorker at heart. New York is the greatest city on this planet, man. I love it more than anything. And nothing is like it. But, and when you think that, hey, New Jersey did it. A lot of people in New Jersey are from New York. And, and a few other states did it. But there's no situation like New York, any place else in the country, and only a few places that are more intense than in the world. Because, like in Dade County where I live in Florida, there's like 2.6 million people, and it's about, I don't know, 2,400 square miles of land. New York City is like 440 square miles of land. It has 8.3 million people. Long Island is like 1,300 square miles of land, and it really is part of the city. Everybody in Long Island works in New York City. The transportation is, subways, the Long Island Expressway. I mean, Long Island has like close to 8 million people living in it. So when you take Long Island and New York City together, you're dealing with 1,800 square miles of property and like 16.3 million people. There ain't no place in the United States that's even close to that. New York State, the whole state, is 55,000 square miles. In the other 53,000 square miles, there's only about 3.5 million people. And you got 16.3 million people living in New York City and Long Island. And they the only ones in the country that did it. They did it. New Yorkers know how to do it. The rest of the country is going to get hip. They're going to learn. Learn the easy way or learn the hard way. Because right now in Dade County, they're writing tickets, $100 tickets to $500 tickets. And you don't pay that ticket, they suspend your driver's license. You don't have a driver's license, they suspend your voter's registration card. They'll suspend whatever they can. They'll suspend anything to make you pay that fine. And all these people that are taking the face mask thing with lawyers to court, hey, this is just like yelling fire in a movie theater. You can't yell fire in a movie theater. We have such freedom of speech, but you can't do something that infringes on somebody else's safety to create a situation for people to get hurt. If you're wearing a mask to protect other people, it's like that. It's not like the seatbelt law. I've heard the seatbelt law, on TV multiple times. You get a fine if you don't wear the seatbelt. Yeah, well, it's like that. You get a fine if you don't wear the mask. But you wear a seatbelt to protect yourself. You're wearing a mask to protect other people from you. So when it comes to the line where you're infringing on somebody else's safety, your rights end. And I'll bet that every one of those lawsuits is going to end up the way I'm saying. Public safety outweighs your rights when you're infringing on somebody else's well-being. So come on, man. We're the United States of America. We should be able to do anything as good as anybody else. I believe in people. I believe in the power of people. And I believe in people coming together to work for the better good. It's just some people are going to learn this easy, like me and my cousin Butch have. And some people are going to learn it hard. But eventually, everybody's going to learn it. Everybody's going to know the program. And down the line, we're going to know how to deal with this. Because the defense experts are saying, don't think that the terrorists haven't seen how this virus has, what it's done to our economy. They want to hurt us. This virus hurt us more than anything in our lifetimes. And biowarfare is right around the bend. And we need to be the best of the best of the best in dealing with biowarfare. So we can't show them that every time they throw some virus at us, our whole country collapses and falls apart. Because we're better than that. Okay? We're better than that. So let's get with the program. Let's do what's right, man. Come on. Wear the mask. Stop crying. Take your medicine. And stay home as much as you can. And social distance. Because this is much worse than you think. And stop believing in ridiculous conspiracy theories. There's millions of them. I can make conspiracy theories every day. When I see things and you can connect certain dots and say, wow, what about this? What about that? But they're all bullshit conspiracy theories. They're not reality. Reality is people are dying, and we can make a difference. Make a difference. Okay? See you on the next episode. Be safe.